The Phantom Liberty expansion pack could be a good opportunity for some of the game's interesting characters to be more in the spotlight. But for others, it's better to not appear in sequences and stories, creating more room for processing the rest of the characters. Cyberpunk 2077's DLC has received media attention and coverage, but the story and characters in it have not yet been revealed. However, regardless of what we've been prepared for throughout the story, in this video we decided to leave the following characters out of the game as characters who might hit the final quality of the expansion. At the behest of the NUSA president, V will apparently embark on a top-secret and extremely dangerous mission to save Night City during the Phantom Liberty story. Along with this character, we will also witness the familiar and popular character of the game, Johnny Silverhand, and eventually we will be accompanied by Solomon Reed, the FIA agent playing the beloved English-born actor Idris Elba. With such fascinating characters at the forefront of the biggest DLC released by CD Projekt Red to date, Phantom Liberty seems to be on the right track, as long as the unnecessary characters don't get into the winning combination. Night City's taxi service Delamain received different reviews from passengers and, of course, players during Cyberpunk 2077. Although he has repeatedly rescued V from dangerous and sensitive conditions, it seems that his presence will not be very interesting even in the dangerous circumstances of the upcoming expansion. Phantom Liberty puts a lot of emphasis on secrecy, which perfectly justifies the absence of an advertising taxi service, especially one that had no problem bombing the V phone with a wave of hologram phone calls. Even if the player needs an escape car, there is now an alternative that fits his needs much better: the Combat Cab. The vehicle is similar to Delamain, but is equipped with the best armored body in the cyberpunk world that can serve the player at critical levels. It's interesting to note that it's the only taxi service in the world of Cyberpunk 2077 that will dare to enter the combat zone, which is where players will likely be in Phantom Liberty. Given that Phantom Liberty is set to take place in Pacifica, it's not surprising that V will meet with local voodoo boys. However, re-encountering Placide, a high-ranking member of the group, would be bad for the overall integrity of the plot of the story. The character's status depends entirely on the player's previous actions in Cyberpunk 2077, as those who dealt with Netwatch during the I Walk the Line stage had the option to kill Placide for his treacherous actions, but other players may have given him a second chance. If we encounter him in this package, it means the game confirms the second scenario, and he is still alive. While seeing the consequences of the player's actions may illuminate the overall story, it will certainly be difficult to write a recurring presence like this in an impressive way. Of all the information that was leaked through the recent Phantom Liberty trailer, one of the most common topics to focus on is that no one can be trusted. Given that Placide has already betrayed V's trust once, this fictional idea has already been implemented once, and so his reintroduction to the cyberpunk story has no purpose. The players already know what his real motives are, and trust is unlikely to be re-established because he may turn around and betray the player again. Even if there's a story twist, and Placide decides to suddenly vow and unite with V and NUSA, this extra alliance is a counter-current for the players who decided to kill him in their previous game. Overall, although his presence would be an interesting choice from a character development perspective, there would be no right way to add Placide to this package. There are many interesting characters that Phantom Liberty has to deal with and expand their character, but the game has been silent about Morgan Blackhand, and it seems better to stay that way. He was only mentioned during Cyberpunk 2077, but is considered one of the best Night City soloists. Unlike others, he refuses to directly kill his opponents, making him a much more difficult mercenary, but his skills eventually caught Militech's attention, and the company hired him as one of its main agents, and most importantly, Morgan Blackhand was Johnny Silverhand's accomplice during the infamous bombing of the Arasaka Towers. In Cyberpunk 2077, Blackhand's exact location is unknown. He was last seen clashing with Adam Smasher on rooftops just before the Arasaka Towers collapsed, and his disappearance understandably led many Night City residents to imagine that Smasher had murdered him. However, some also believe that Blackhand is still alive and began a secret life. Morgan Blackhand deserves its own game, not just an expansion pack. True, compared to other developers, Phantom Liberty is very extensive and detailed, but it's inherently a DLC. and it's supposed to be a short but comprehensive experience. Meanwhile, Blackhand's story, his experiences with Militech, and his unique, peace-loving character deserve more than an add-on package and should have its own work. In general, a story of his caliber might be better suited for something along the Orion project, the next game from Cyberpunk universe. Phantom Liberty seems to fit in with a dark background and characters like Solomon Reed, but the inclusion of this DLC as the only CD project to expand the Cyberpunk 2077 universe may be a risk. In general, it's better to take a low-content but a lot of detail approach, rather than worrying about characters like Delamain, Placide, and Morgan Blackhand. Focusing solely on new characters or characters already known as core parts of the game's experience ensures that the expansion is set to expand the world of Cyberpunk 2077 as it deserves.